Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on our webinar. So this is a Good CRM webinar, and we're really delighted that Rob Newman from Carter, Collins and Meyer Accountants has joined us today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about who I am, about Good CRM very quickly, and then I'll give you the structure for today's webinar, which will be about an hour, might be shorter depending on how many questions we have. So my name is Steph Graham. I'm the CEO of Good CRM, and Good CRM is a cloud-based CRM specifically built for charities, arts, culture and heritage organizations and not-for-profits. We have a really wide range of customers that use the system, ranging from organisations that specialise with children and young people or equality and advocacy charities. We also have quite a lot of kind of sector support organisations. And the kind of structure of our organisations tends to be charities, CICs, or another kind of non-profit structure. We've invited Rob Newman to come and talk to you today about financial reporting, mainly because we just saw a lot of synergy between Good CRM, but also some of the advice that he has as being a specialist in working with charities and non-profits. And actually, just to say that Carter, Collins and Meyer are our accountants, so we can vouch for them personally there. So what we're going to do then today is that Rob is going to take you through a really, really helpful session on financial reporting from a kind of an accountancy perspective, and tools and tips and tricks that can help you. And then Tom is actually then going to take over and talk a little bit about how Good CRM can support some of those things that Rob will be talking about, and just generally about how the system can kind of handle financial reporting. I will let them introduce themselves more fully. So I'll hand over to Rob first, but if anyone has any questions, please do put them in the chat. Please do use the Q&A function that Zoom has, and I will collate all of these. I can ask them as we go if it's relevant, or I can kind of collate them and save them till the end. Over to Rob.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. It's much appreciated that you've made the effort to come out and listen to an accountant. I do know our reputation, and I do know what people often say about us. I promise I will try and keep it really reasonably energetic and proactive to us. So I do have some slides. It is not death by PowerPoint, I do assure you. In fact, it's not even PowerPoint today because I couldn't get the damn thing to work. I'm actually just going straight off a PDF. There are 10 key points that I want to talk about, but why should you actually even listen to me? Well, I've got loads of qualifications in stuff and I've done loads of different things. We work with just over 100 non-profit organizations, charities, CICs. They tend to be smaller entities. We don't have anybody that has more than £1 million income in those that we do work with, but there are of all shapes and sizes and of all types, from community sports clubs, military veterans organizations, through to animal charities and more traditional based things that you might recognize as being charitable groups. I've been involved with this sector for 20 years, 25 years, and have done all sorts of things within it, completely the external reporting and some of the internal stuff as well. The actual responsibility you have as a director, trustee, for the purposes of this, let me just call you all directors, just to keep it as a simple thing. As a director of a non-profit entity is more than you're going to have with any other form of organization, simply because not only you are accountable to HMRC, you've also got to actually demonstrate that you're adding value to whatever your specific cause is. And even if you're organized as a sports club, as a local CIC on something, you're still doing it for other people. It's not just the profit motive, which means you do have to demonstrate more than regular businesses do as to how you are organizing your financial situation and how you are portraying that and creating that to the outside world. Depending on where exactly you fall, you've got the Charities Commission, you've got Companies House, you've got HMRC onto it. And the key thing is to be on top of this. With all organizations, as an accountant with all organizations, we still get people that walk in with a bin bag, and it's a bin bag full of stuff that we've got to try and turn into something. Now, yes, HMRC are having a push to change that, and in a different capacity. Some of you may well be hearing about a thing called Making Tax Digital. But within the space that we're within this, not the non-profit space, if you're operating out of a bin bag, even for getting compliance, it's going to be so hard for you to demonstrate quickly, rapidly, the value that you're adding to your particular sector. And you are opening yourself up to all sorts of risks if you do so. I talk further down in here, the risk of carrying this. It can just be misunderstandings. It doesn't even have to necessarily be something that you've done wrong. But we've all sat in front of that trustee or committee meeting where they've questioned what £2.70 was spent for on milk or, something else. And, why is this 15 pence different to that? We've all sat there on those. And to get it right from the beginning is much easier than trying to sort it out in advance. So I would say to all of you, be audit ready from the beginning. Keep the information, track donations, track grants, track income streams for it. That's not difficult to do, particularly nowadays with the technology that's available to it. A tip that I would always say to you is, if you've got some form of if you're a smaller organization and you've got some form of designated fund or restricted fund or specific project that you're doing, it's much easier to have separate bank accounts to do for each of the projects to capture stuff in a specific bank account and to allow a reconciliation straight to that one bank account rather than one big general bank account. That's not a requirement, but it makes that tracking of donations or grants so much easier, as does GoodCRM, because I have to start putting that in there. I have to say that one of the reasons I agree to do this is their kit is superb for you guys to do. So right from day one, set your stall out properly, capture information, record it properly, write it down, have it in a thing, and make life easier for yourself. The accounting challenges faced by charities and CICs is similar to many others. That is, you've got multiple income streams coming from multiple different places, but they have to be dealt with differently. That key thing that we touched on there of restricted and unrestricted funds is one of the major differences. It's highly unlikely that a for-profit business has to deal with a restricted and unrestricted fund situation. They don't have that. They have a bank account with stuff and they can spend that money at will. Whereas you guys have to be able to clearly, quickly, and without significant cost, not financial, but administrative cost, be able to show what you've done with this stuff. And again, a key point, and one of the easiest ways of doing that is separate it out from the beginning. Have it separately. Categorize those income separately from day one. Open different pots. There's plenty. Co-op is one of the main bank accounts used by CICs still to this day. I know there are others, and I'm not here advocating for co-op, but it's still one of the main ones. Co-op will allow you to have multiple different accounts within one account to allow pots to be created so that you can have those restricted funds within different pots. That allows you to categorize and capture things so much easier. And then linking it to software allows much better reporting, both to trustees, to funders, to regulators, to your own committees. It creates that whole financial link across the board, making your life easier as you do it. It then also meets the requirements of HMRC and the Charities Commission. And I don't want this talk to just be beating you with what the rules say. I want to make it easier for you. It's much easier for you to do this approach than the rules that they have are significant and potentially onerous, but they are there for the right reasons. And adopting this from day one of capturing multiple income streams, of demonstrating the differences between it will just make life so much easier for you, as will centralizing data. Centralizing data and having one point of truth is so much easier than having a bin bag full of crap. let's be honest. A bin bag full of crap is going to take time, effort, and energy in putting it into piles to find out what's going on. Whereas that investment up front in sorting it out and writing it down, capturing it, makes it so much easier. Particularly aggregating information for gift aid claims, for real-time financial reporting and tracking, and for the audit trail of that transaction. If you make this part of your day-to-day operations, and depending on your size, part of your day-to-day operations may be 2 hours on a Wednesday. It doesn't have to be day to day. Day to day is the catch-all term, but it's size appropriate for you. So if you're a tiny organization, I personally run a CIC. I personally run a sports club through a CIC, and I personally spend an hour and a half on a Friday doing this type of stuff. Capturing it, because a lot of I even though I'm in a CIC, a lot of my actual money comes from grant funding. Because I provide a particular sport to a particular community, it comes through the grant funding, and I have to be ready to report quickly to the funders for this. So making it a rhythm and routine rather than a once a year, oh Jesus, I've got to comply with something, adds so much more value to you, and then makes the complying with it so much easier. But that single point of data is where to start from, because then it allows restricted and unrestricted fund accounting to become so much more simple. It's so much easier to have those separate bank accounts and to have that one point of truth and to do it as you go, to create that real-time report. It's so much more straightforward, and it gives you such better value. It gives you better decision making. And yes, it helps with the compliance side of this, but the decision making of where are we at and what we're doing is just so much easier to have if you capture as you go. So I've already talked to this, making reporting easier. We've already done that. Timely financial reports are essential for everybody that if in this space. Capturing it in one source of truth with one place is got to be the way to go. And products like GoodCRM allow this to happen so much more straightforward than many other traditional methods of doing it. From a pure compliance point of view, it's going to allow you to strengthen financial controls and governance and demonstrate those. It's not just doing it, it's demonstrating them as well. Half of the extra burden that you guys are carrying is not just the doing, it's the demonstrating. It's being able to prove that you're doing it this way. And by having that financial system in place from the beginning of capturing, splitting, analyzing, and controlling, you can demonstrate it better. Again, using software immediately creates user permission and access control. It immediately gives you detailed audit trails, and it immediately allows you to flag when something's going wrong. Far more than any of the manual systems that you can come up with, far more than anything that you can actually do without having something like this. It's not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Of course, you can do it in other ways. And for many, many years, we've all run financial systems outside of having digital records. But it allows the simplification, which then allows less time for you guys, and to allow you to concentrate on really what does add value rather than what is often a compliance chore to it. Budgeting, cash flow management for substantial, for financial, I can't even say the word, stability. Look, one of the biggest, the biggest problems I often see, particularly in the CIC sector, I have to say, even more so than charities, is the lack of financial control. Because it's one of those things that falls to the bottom of the pile that everybody else doesn't want someone else to deal with on it. They just lose track of where they're at, and money spent on things that they're not necessarily predicting or budgeting for or knowing is coming, and they don't necessarily know that this is happening. And it's all done with the best of intentions. But that poor cash flow management of not knowing when income is going to turn up creates all those sticking points, all those compliance issues, and all those problems. And by capturing it in a timely method, and by plotting within your systems when you know revenue is going to turn up, just creates such a better approach for it. Cash flow forecasting tools are a must, in my opinion. even if you're going outside of tools like GoodCRM, even an Excel spreadsheet of listing down when you are getting money in against when you are paying it out is a fundamental that so many not-for-profits don't do. And I know it's dull. I'm an accountant, so to me it's exciting and easy and straightforward, but I know it's dull. But I bet many of you do it even mentally for your own household. And it's no different. It's no different than how you organize your own household for this. Having that tracking of things and planning for seasonal fluctuations just creates a much smoother and less stressful environment for everybody, as does using financial data to measure impact and improve your fundraising. If you can demonstrate that you are value for money and that you do make full use of the funds that you get, it's so much easier. I've secured, people will tell you it's impossible to get grant funding. And yet for a martial arts club in Ashton, I've secured significant funding that essentially, this is personally, essentially has made the lessons for the kids of the area free. Now, I've done that in part by being able to demonstrate to the particular sports authority that I fall under that this is what I do with your cash. This is how it's spent on. This is what happens with it. This is the impact I'm making. And it's adds so much value to the underlying cause. It's not just a compliance thing. It allows me to go back to the funders, and if you have donors and if you have other people that are involved in this, in a much more timely method without scrabbling around at that last second to think. It also allows for data-driven fundraising strategies to it. Practically for that, if you know that X produces Y, when you go out and spend 50 quid on this promotional campaign, you bring in £2,000 of response from it. That's much better than not having that sort of clarity to it. Again, in my own CIC, I know exactly by spending 50 quid on a poster that I'm going to get 6 new kids joining the class. I know that's what happens to it. And in largely, I know that's what's happening because I've linked expenditure with result. What comes from this when I do this? And that applies to all of you guys. It's taking a mundane compliance task and actually turning it into a practical result for you and your organization. And we're all small organizations doing this. And it really does make a difference. And then, of course, it is complying with compliance. The exciting stuff for an accountant, complying with compliance, right? You've got to do some of this crap. You've got to do it anyway. It's got to be done, particularly if you're a charity. You've got to do this. So make it easy and useful. That's the point. It's easy and useful. Why? Why do you want to do it like that? Because it's easy and useful. It allows better decision making. It gives real-time insights into stuff. It creates that whole structure and makes things easier. Now, if you do that and your accountant walks in and you have those records to hand, I can tell you they'll love you. The compliance piece becomes so much easier. If you've got an independent examination and someone can produce separate bank accounts for restricted funds, or all the gift aid output ready for HMRC input or thing, or actually demonstrate the financial impact of expenditure. From a compliance accountancy point of view, I'm going to absolutely love you. And what that means is your fees are cheaper. So if your fees are cheaper because it's the accountant loves what you get, it's a win-win all around. You've dealt with the compliance for a cheaper way and had some real value out of it. So in conclusion, I am a huge believer in all organizations, but particularly not-for-profits, particularly making use of what they've got, spending that hour a week or hour and a half a week on that Friday, on that Wednesday, of capturing this stuff, simplifying it as much as possible, reporting on it, keeping an eye on what's going on, and making the right decisions to benefit your organization. And I'm hoping through some of this, through taking what sounds like a pure compliance driven thing and turning it into something that's relevant, you can see some value to that too. If you do want to have a chat with me, this is my plug for me. This is my contact details. My name's Rob Newman. It is Carter Collins Meyer. I do live on LinkedIn. I'm there every day. Wednesday is my Charities and CIC days, and there is a great tip on there for today. But I know a couple of people, Steph, have popped up on the chat if there's anything I can help at this stage to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a question from Becca about cash flow, actually. So she's asking, would you recommend keeping simple cash flows for each source of funding and then using Xero or whichever software you happen to use for keeping track of overall funding?
I it depends how confident you are with the software that you're using. Um, for restricted funds, I actually find I am completely software agnostic, but I actually happen to find QuickBooks to be one of the best for restricted funds. You can do it on Xero, but I do find QuickBooks one of the best for it. Um, I can readily set up a QuickBooks for you that you don't need to duplicate this, that QuickBooks will track that restricted fund for you and allow you to report the cash flow on the restricted fund in QuickBooks. It can be done in Xero. If you are not confident with the software and not getting the support from your accountant to do it, yes, I would then go Becca's approach. Keep it in an Excel spreadsheet and do it generally in the bookkeeping software. But you can eliminate some of that task with a little bit of training. An hour back, and I reckon I could show you how to do it in one.
That's really good, actually. Talking of training, I have a question coming from another hat I wear. So I'm chair of the board of a charity based in South Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've been talking recently about, I suppose, the oversight role that the board plays from a financial point of view is really important and a really key aspect of being a trustee. Yet the skills and experience that our trustees have, particularly with finances, isn't isn't anything to like a professional level other than obviously our treasurer, because we've got a really great board of people with loads of different life experience, but that experience isn't always financial, yet the role we have
Yeah.
to play as a trustee is there any training that you would recommend, or I don't know, your opinion on that basically?
There is now because I've just created it.
Yeah,
The,
see what you did there.
the,
Yeah,
the, the short answer is there is nothing existing because a lot of business owners have this. Now, I actually run once a quarter, I run an in-person group for all general business owners to come along. And I do 3 hours. I start with a bacon sandwich or alternatives, whatever you fancy. But
I
I
was going to
start with a
say
bacon
I'm
sandwich.
vegetarian, so that's not going to work for me, I'm afraid.
Um, I can do you an egg balm if that works.
Lovely,
Right?
lovely.
Yeah. Egg balm, brown sauce, big cup of coffee, and I do a general one. But actually, what you've actually prompted is I'm going to start doing one for not for profits because in 3 hours, sat in a room, I could show you what to look for.
Yeah, I think,
And I actually run, by the way, sorry to overtalk you, but I actually run that for free already. So I happily, anybody on this call who happens to want that, there's not a cost to that. I happen to run it anyway. And I'll do it
yeah,
for not for profits.
yeah, because I think it's a slightly different angle than
It
what you
is.
mentioned in your presentation just now, because actually the finance staff we have within our charity are excellent. And the reporting that they give us, the board, is so detailed, amazing. But
What does it mean?
yes, and a lot of our trustees struggle with that. I've
Yeah.
got working knowledge of finances as being a business owner, etc., and worked in fundraising most of my career. But yes, it's just a slightly different role you're having to play.
I'm actually just going to write it down before
I
I
was going to
forget.
say, please do, yeah.
Yeah, because actually, that's actually a really good thing to run for somebody. And as
Yeah,
I say, literally 3 hours of somebody's time. You could do it on these. I think it's actually easier in person, this type of one. I actually think this is a
yeah,
get people in a room because I can then very much tailor it to the individual's experiences. I'll have a theme. I'll
yeah.
have some handouts and stuff. Um,
Just to mention, Rob, Good CRM works with organisations all over the country. Um, we're based though in Manchester, and you're based in North Manchester, Rob.
yeah.
Lots of the people on the webinar today will not be based in Manchester, so an in-person, unfortunately, a sandwich and a coffee, handmade by yourself.
We,
Um,
we, don't, we would have to do those virtually because we
yeah, we'll
could
have
we
to do
could
some
still do
virtual.
it. I think what we'd have to do for that is to have it as not as a webinar, but as a call so that everyone can actually talk.
I think that's a good idea. And actually, someone's already asked if they can sign up for that
Oh,
training that
wow.
you've been
Okay.
talking about. Well, I don't know if you've got any links that you can post into the chat about, or any information you can share now about how people get in touch with you about even the training you already run. Or
Um, Happily, I'll do that there. I think this is to no, I can't. It only goes to you onto it.
okay.
Um,
We will share that then. We'll send a follow-up email because someone else has actually asked about whether they can get the slides that you have put
yeah, no
today.
problem. Yeah.
Absolutely, we can share the slides, we can share any information about training and other things that might come up. Um, that's all the questions we've had so far. But as I said, feel free to pop some more in and we can come back to them at the end if there's something you're marinating on and need a bit more time. We can always ask Rob some more questions after Tom is going to briefly take us through just some of the financial aspects of what Good CRM can handle, essentially, and what it can help you with. So over to you.
Thank you, Steph. And yeah, thank you ever so much, Rob, as well, for some fantastic insights there. And I love it when inspiration strikes mid-presentation and a new thing comes about, as with your new training, which is fantastic. Happens to me quite a lot as well. I get inspired with features. So talking about features, I am going to do the GoodCRM segment now, just to bring things full circle, I suppose. So I am going to share my screen and hopefully we can all see that wonderful. Okay. So GoodCRM, show me the money is the section here. And I think just we've got quite a good split of people today who are maybe using GoodCRM already and those that might not be. So I'm just going to start off with a quick overview for those who are a little bit new around here. The first thing to say is that GoodCRM is designed for people who do good. It's right there in the name. We work with lots of charities and non-profits, as Steph has said, to make better sense of your data. A big part of that is that we're an organization-wide CRM, so we're not just interested in contacts or fundraising. We're interested in your organization as an ecosystem, and that's because your the people that you deal with, your stakeholders, your constituents, your day-to-day contacts see you in that way, and they will often work with you across different strands of your organization. So we think that by capturing all of that data and having all of that connected in the CRM gives us better opportunities for segmentation, reporting, and managing relationships. CRM is good. CRM is a repository for your organizational memory. So all of that useful data that might be stored in inboxes, in spreadsheets, in people's heads, can all be centralized in the CRM for your team as they are now, but as they will be in the future. And that organizational memory and instant access to that valuable information helps with good decision making, helps with segmentation, reporting, and all of those good things as well. Importantly, the CRM is a tool to take that information and turn it into actionable intelligence. So what can we do with this information? We can make this really useful for us as an organization. So the things that we cover include contact management. We also have facilities for workshops, courses, and event programs, fundraising, memberships. We drive monitoring an evaluation, but of course we do a lot more besides. So just a quick overview for the uninitiated there. Okay, but let's talk about the financial elements of good CRM. So finance comes into contact with CRM through memberships with monthly and annual fees. We have individual givings, that might be one-off or monthly donations, which can be facilitated through the platform, or they might be added in after the fact as well. We have trust and foundations, grant application pipelines in the CRM, so and we'll have a little bit of a look at those today. So that's another touch point. And finally, we have GoodCRM tickets for your ticket sales as well. So we do facilitate some transactions in the CRM around donations, membership fees, ticket sales. We use Stripe for our card payments. We use Go Cardless for our direct debits. We use those because they have very low transaction fees for the kind of plug and play providers that are out there. Really good financial reporting in and of themselves, and particularly with Stripe, that's the case. They also have integrations with major accounts packages. So when we're talking about how you keep track of your financial data, that's often a big time saver. And just as a matter of fact, from our side of the fence as well, we don't add any additional fees on top of your donations or membership fees. So we're not taking a cut of those as they come in. Right, so what I want to do now is just look at some of the ways in which we support you directly within the system. And what we're looking at here is the campaigns section in GoodCRM. You can create as many fundraising campaigns as you want to. We can set targets on campaigns. We can see progress towards those targets. We can also add custom fields to our campaigns. So this is really useful for reporting. Rob talked quite a lot about things like restricted funds. We also have organizations that maybe want to put cost codes or source codes against campaigns. So we can go ahead and add any custom fields we want to. We can then add any values we want to for individual campaigns, and then that is going to be pulled through to our reporting. So that can be really useful for reconciliation, separating those donations that you might have received into different groups, whether that's restricted and unrestricted. Potentially, you can cross-cut that in many other different ways as well. So this is a little look at our Trust and Foundations pipeline. This is new in the system as part of our fundraising suite. This is a way for us to track all of our grant applications. We can see one here. We can move these around to different statuses, and you can customize those statuses, by the way. We can see the funder, the person who is responsible for this, and we can open this out to get more details. So a couple of things to say here. This is one of those GoodCRM forms at the top, which means it's completely customizable. So you can choose what information you wish to record about your bids. Maybe you want to include the final bid that you submitted, and maybe you want to put a reporting deadline in, that kind of thing. But I just want to talk about the funding allocations at the bottom, because this is a really powerful feature as part of the grant applications, and it powers your reporting in the CRM. So rather than just putting in a bid for one chunk of money, what you're able to do with funding allocations is allocate the bid to different campaigns, because you might be fundraising for multiple campaigns with your bid. But also you can put a funds expected date in. So maybe this is a bid for a multi-year funding, and you're going to get funding in across several years, so you can put the dates in here. Another thing to say is that we have within the different statuses that we can move our bids through in the pipeline, we can designate one as a successful status and one as a rejected status or unsuccessful status. And so that again is going to power our reporting. So talking of that reporting, this is something that will be new to those of you using Fundraising Suite already. This is something we're going to see a lot of additional reporting coming in over the next weeks and months. And this is a work in progress report about that projected grant income. So we can filter this by date ranges and by different campaigns. And we can see income per month based on our grant application pipeline. So where we have moved a bid to an unsuccessful status, it will be removed from this report. Where it is in the pipeline, it's potential income, which is represented by the lighter color in our bar chart here. And when this is confirmed, we've been successful with this particular application, that goes into that darker confirmed funding. So this is the kind of reporting that we are actually investing more and more into within the CRM to give you those insights in a really easy to understand and tangible way. As any good CRM users know, there are already lots of tools that you can use to interrogate your data, export your data, and so on. But it's going to be great to get some more of this top-level visual reporting in as well. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to talk about as part of the Good CRM section in the presentation today is gift aid, very briefly. So some of you who use Good CRM will be familiar with how all of this works. But as soon as you add your charity details into the CRM, we're going to collect and manage gift aid declarations at the point of donation automatically. So you can see an example of one of our donation forms here. And we have the gift aid declaration right there as part of the checkout flow. Also, if you are using memberships, it is possible to count your membership fees as donations. And if you do that in conjunction with Fundraising Suite, you can also make those membership fees gift aidable too. So you can collect gift aid declarations at the point of sign up for your memberships as well. There are rules and regulations around when it is right to get gift aid on a membership, which I'm not going to go into because I cannot give you legal advice, but do make sure you know all about that, and maybe that's the kind of thing that CCM will be able to help you with as well. Okay, so that is a quick roundup of some of those key financial touch points in the CRM. For those of you who aren't already aware of GoodCRM, then do have a chat with us. You can book a call at goodcrm.co.uk/discovery. So if you'd like a bit more of a guided tour around the system and a bit of a chat about how the CRM might work for you, then please do go ahead and sign up. And for those of you that are already customers, it's so good to see so many of you here today. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you. I've had a question in just about some of the pricing to do with some of those fundraising tools that you've just taken us through. So someone was specifically asking about the kind of the campaigns feature and if that's an additional cost or available in the normal package. I have kind of answered that a bit in the chat or in the Q&A function, but I just wondered, Tom, if you could just mention that as well, because I know it's slightly different for different packages.
Yeah, that's right. So I haven't seen your answer, Steph, so sorry if I'm going over old ground. But yes, just to be clear, the fundraising add-on, the fundraising suite, which gives you online donations, it gives you the trust and foundations pipeline, it gives you the campaigns and the reporting and so on. Worth saying as well, those campaigns interact with our events part of the system. There's lots of stuff we haven't had time to include today. So that is available as an add-on on any package, which costs, I think, from the 1st of April anyway, it'll be £26 per month. But if you have the Pro package or above, so Pro or Team, that is included as standard. And so if you are a good CRM user, you can go to your App Store and install Fundraising Suite or any of the relative tools as part of Fundraising Suite. And again, if you're on Pro or above, there'll be no additional charge. And for micro and personal accounts, it's £26 per month for that feature.
I'm glad I asked you, Tom, because I actually gave incorrect information. I said that it was an additional charge on the Pro account as well, because I thought it was included on our Teams package, which is
no, it's included in Pro. So good news, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. It's included in Pro. And also just to say that we are constantly improving that. So this reporting that Tom's talking about that isn't there already, you're not going to have to pay extra for that once we've kind of added it on. We're just always kind of adding and improving things where we can. I've had there's a comment actually from someone just saying we're using the funding package at the moment and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And it would be great to speak to us about the funding reporting options. That would be great, Becca, because to be honest, like we love hearing what would be helpful for you and what you would want. Because when things are in development, people can feed in. Usually what we're building is in response to what people have said would be useful for them, but it's always good to hear directly. So thank you for that. We've had a question from Nick, which I think is more in the Rob wheelhouse. Trustees have to sign off accounts, even though they're not experts, as I've obviously already talked about a bit. Will they be personally responsible for the accuracy?
Before I answer it, I'm just going to comment on yours. I think your reporting tools are brilliant, by the way, guys. I think they're superb. And again, from an accounting compliance independent exam point of view, I think they answer so many issues. So it was good for me to see the latest versions of that.
Yes, yeah, because you haven't actually been
I haven't
taking
seen
through.
those either, and I think they're really good. The answer to Nick's question is yes. They are. That's one of the downsides. The downsides of being a trustee of any form of organization is you are responsible for the accuracy of those accounts. Now, there's a concept within accuracy called materiality, and it's relevant. Materiality is something that would affect or change the user of the accounts. What that means is if the petty cash is out by £2, no one cares. And the accounts are therefore not strictly accurate, but they are within materiality. So please don't panic if you're on this call thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get sued because we lost 50 pence out of the petty cash tin, or we haven't quite reconciled something. There is a leeway in this. It depends on the size of the organization, but even then within something, provided the accounts are material, the actual statement that you give is that they are materially true and fair. We don't use the word accurate because that's accurate is 100% correct, and no set of accounts anywhere ever are 100% correct on anybody's, but provided they're materially true and fair, then that's okay. But yes is the answer. It is ultimately the trustee's responsibility. What that means is if you are presented with something that you really don't understand and really doubt, don't sign it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And also, I suppose as a trustee who maybe you don't have a lot of that financial expertise, procuring your accountant is actually that's where your role's really important
Yes,
around that
absolutely.
bit, because
Yeah,
you're essentially handing over something that you are ultimately liable for to
yeah,
someone else to do
yeah,
who has more expertise in that thing, and hopefully they're going to do a good job on
yeah,
your behalf. But I think that that kind of relationship that you have with your accountant. So I don't know if you do this, Rob, actually at CCM, but sorry, but my charity doesn't use CCM, but that's because we had an existing relationship
yeah.
before I
I
joined the
know.
board. But they actually join us at our AGM.
I offer it. I actually offer it.
Yeah, which I really like.
Yeah. It's I don't charge for it. I offer it.
Yeah,
Not that many, probably 20 to 30% of them actually take me up on it.
yeah,
Um, that's their choice. That's up to the individual charity. But I'm very happy to turn up and talk about it. I have had many a Friday evening somewhere. There's one that we've looked after for, oh God, 25 years, and it's always on a Friday evening in a working men's club in South Manchester, and I always get a pie and a pint when I go. And I have sat there being questioned about why is it 15 pence different for milk or something in the accounts based of things. But I actually would encourage it too. Because I'm in the misery business, again, I'm going to try and take away some of the slight fear that some people may get by hearing some of these things. The misery business is that it's all gone disastrously wrong. If you have given the accountant, if you've got the accountant involved and trusted them and they have done it wrong, you do, of course, have the right to sue them. So even though you are responsible for it, you do have comeback. There is a way. Nobody wants to be getting into suing anybody, obviously, because that's the thing. But it's not, it is on the trustees. It is their responsibility, but it is mitigated as well. There is other things around it. The accountant does have a professional responsibility, and if cocked it up, well, you do have comeback.
yeah. Nick's come back actually saying thank you. That's really helpful. He's kind of inferring something, saying as we have poets and academics as trustees, that I'm not no comment, but there's some inference there about like, you know, demographics of person and the skills they might have. But yeah, I think it's a really important point generally. Like I said, like we've got a huge kind of emphasis on diversity of trustees. And like I said, the charity that I chair, we're disabled people led, and we particularly work with learning disabled people and artists.
Yeah.
And it's really important that that voice is on our board. But like I said, sometimes the life experience doesn't always match the kind of like skills that you maybe are asking people to use or that they need to do the job. And if you read the Charity Commission guidelines,
Oh, they're
there's
gobbledygook. They're
yeah,
absolute gobbledygook. They're fundam if right, it's dead easy for me because I do it all day long. The Charity Commission guidelines for me, they're written in double Dutch, but once you actually translate them, you go, oh yeah, okay, that's it's what they ask is makes perfect sense once it's been translated. You are basically saying, you know, to anybody in any business, charities, anything, I always say to them, imagine it's your own money here. Imagine this is literally your own bank account. It's your cash. What would you want done with this? Well, I want to know what I'm spending it on. Where does it come from and what am I spending it on?
yeah,
And fundamentally, accountancy is that. Where's it
yeah,
come from and what have I spent it on? Um, and all the bells and whistles around it is that. And truthfully, that's what the Charities Commission are saying in those awful guidelines.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think that's a really good question as well to ask yourself, the how would what would I do with my own money? That's actually come up in another, so we had a data kind of specialist on a webinar at the end of last year, Kate Fitzgerald, and actually she said the same thing about use of data.
Yeah,
How would you want your data to be used? How would you want your mum's data to be
yeah,
used? You know,
yeah,
and that's almost the basis of like a data policy,
absolutely.
about how you use it, how you store it.
Oh, I mean that question is at the heart of my professional practice. If this was my money, what would I want to happen? How would I do this? How would I organize it? Regardless, be it for non-profits, be it for very rich families, you know, if this was my money, what would I do here? And even if I could come out with a load of complicated tax advice, if I actually wouldn't do it in that circumstance, that's not, I'll tell you about it because I've got an obligation to tell you about it. But I'm then going to go, I actually wouldn't do that. I'd do Z
Yeah,
instead. And it's, I think it's the same to this. And I think fundamentally, if you're a trustee, I think that's the financial question to ask. If this was my
yeah,
money, what would I want to happen?
yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. That's all the questions we've had. So unless anyone has any kind of burning questions that they want to quickly pop in the chat in the next 20 seconds or so, or in the Q&A, I think we can probably wrap up early and give people 10 minutes back to maybe make a cup of tea or something before their next call. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining us. It's so good to have this discussion. I'm really glad that people have lots of questions. And thank you, Tom, for taking us through just a little taste of what GoodCRM can help with as well. Oh, we've
Thank
had
you
one
all.
last question.
Oh, go for
Oh,
it.
just thanks. No, it was
Oh,
just
okay. Well, yeah, no, thanks again. I'd just like to echo that. Thanks again, everybody, and thanks so much for Rob. Again, we thoroughly recommend CCM. They've been a real help for us over the last few years that we've had that relationship. So do check out the details. As Steph says, we will send the slides. We can send the link
Then the
to
slides, we'll send the recording, and we'll obviously send information about how you might be able to get in touch with Rob and how you can get in touch with us as well.
And I'm going to come up with that course and put it together because I think that's a cracking
And
course.
that
Yeah,
course,
I think that's a
absolutely.
cracking course.
No, I'm going to come
Yeah,
on that course.
yeah, that's an absolute cracking one today. So I will put that together and send that. I'll send it to you in the first instance, Steph, and we can put it out from there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much and have a great day, everybody.